on? Blossom is back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of Blossom's Ultimate Upgrade Guide. In fact, it's going to be the final episode of Blossom's Ultimate Upgrade Guide, at least when it comes to Ultra Rares. Now, I think that Ultra Rares, like I said in the last episode, is the perfect rarity to start for such a series like this, because Epics, you want a 233 most low ground clearance performance tire cars. Super Rares, you want a 323 most cars. Ultra Rares, kind of like the beautiful conglomeration of confusion, if that makes sense. So that's why I wanted to do Ultra Rare for the series. But anyway, we're now on the final episode where we're going to be covering RQ64. The final piece of art that I'm going to be showcasing today, as always in the in the series with this tradition, are going to be my favorite RQ64s in real life. We have Aston Martins, we have Mercedes, we have Dodge. Literally like my favorite manufacturers. I also love Porsche, but there are no Porsches in RQ64 that I really love. Well, besides the BTR, but that's a roof, so you know what I mean. Anyway, let's get into it. You guys know how it works by now. We're 15 episodes deep in this. Also, if you want to check out any of the older episodes, I have an entire playlist dedicated to this series that you can find easily on my channel. The link to the playlist will also be in the description below. Or if you don't want to check out the videos, you can always check out my Discord, because under the resources channel, I have the Blossom's Personal Upgrade Guide channel. And as you can see over here, starting from October 19, 2021, we started with RQ50 all the way down to RQ64. And I love it because there's just nothing here. It's just me. It's just me posting pictures. It's bliss like that. But anyway, let's get into the final, well, not tier list, I guess. The final upgrade guide first, and then the tier list. Alright, so 969, I'm only going to say this one more time, very pedestrian. I don't think there are any, surprises over here. Bunch of four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance cars, standard tire cars, all-surface tire cars, and of course, the most important, the Toutes Saison Pneus cars. Coming in from this, I think this is French, Subaru Forester S Edition. Once again, I don't think there are any surprises over here. All of these RQ64s, I would definitely 969. Moving on to 699, I think the only controversial points here would be the Subaru Legacy B4 RSK and the Subaru Legacy STI S402. Both of these Subarus, I have to be completely honest with you, I don't think they deserve to be RQ64 because the Subaru WRX 300 exists. We talked about that when we were talking about RQ62, and that is just a better Subaru because it's lighter, it has better handling than the B4 RSK, and it has a much lower 0 to 60 compared to the Legacy STI. The Subaru that's RQ62, the WRX 300, is the perfect, I would say, like Goldilocks, it's the perfect middle ground. This is too cold, this is too hot. The WRX 300 is just right. The WRX 300 handles better than the B4, but it has a way lower 0 to 60 than the Legacy, coming in at 5.683 as a stat, and it's also the lightest out of the three. These two cars, I don't think they deserve to be 64, really. What makes the Legacy STI special is because it has, good MRA for a Subaru, which is 75, but it also has, like, better handling than the RQ63 that we talked about, so I want to go 699 to capitalize on the handling. Also, it's relatively lightweight, coming in at 1,490. Actually, that's not even relatively lightweight, that's just okay. The Subaru Legacy B4 RSK, the only reason why I think it's 64 is because it's a very low 0 to 60 for a Subaru 5.5. Still gonna lose to an Evo 4 though, so it really doesn't matter. No MRI on this thing as well, but in the end of the day, I would make them twisty cars. Moving on, Abarth 030, Alpine, Aston. I don't think anything else here is any controversial, so I don't need to explain that too much. It's your low ground clearance performance tire cars or your medium ground clearance performance tire cars that are not four-wheel drive, outside the Subarus. Moving on to 996, we have the Roof BTR and the Mercedes AMG S63. Now, in the past, I have told people that the Mercedes AMG S63 is a car that you can collect duplicates of, get 996 the first. I always said 996 the first S63 that you get, but you can also 699 the second one if you want. Well, I take that back now. Only if you are a collector or a Mercedes collector or anything in terms of, in depth for Mercedes, I don't think the 699 S63 is actually that useful anymore, because the main reason why I told people the 699 the S63 was I was under the impression that the 699 was going to win the Ocean City Streets but it doesn't. 996 wins that anyway, so if that's the case, might as well just 996 your S63 and leave it at that. It's the German version of the Charger Daytona or the German version of the Bentley Brooklands. It's also a very, very strong car, a low 0 to 60, no top speed unfortunately, very average at 155, but the MRA is strong, coming in at 84.41. Also, another reason why I don't think we should 699 this car anymore is because it's not going to win any vanilla city streets, because it's going to lose to cars like the Vauxhall Maloo, and of course the God, which is the the God, which is the Lancia O37 Rally. Now let's move on to either or. This is where we get to the nitty gritty. First one, BMW M6 Convertible. Now, 996 is only because the BMW M6 Convertible, although it has a very average top speed at 155, it has really good MRA, 87.16. But I would be honest with you, the BMW M6 Convertible, the first one that you get, please go 699. I can say this with 100% confidence. Please go 699 on the first BMW M6 Convertible. This is an outdated picture. It's not 4683 anymore. The stats now are 4681. It got a recent nerf. Doesn't matter though, because at 699, the BMW M6 Convertible is still the best ultra rare for the standing fast circuit, and that's why I would say 699. The Dodge Challenger SRT392 is the best ultra rare dragster when it comes to brakes. That's it. It's quite sad actually. It has the best brakes. So if there's any drag that involves brakes, like 0 to 100 to 0 or 100 to 0, or any drag that's in the rain, like 0 to 100 in the rain, then the Challenger SRT 392 at 996 would be the best. Because when you think about it, all the other best dragsters that are ultras, like the Tamora and the BTR and the Charger 3, they all lack either traction control and ABS, or they lack one or the other. You know what I mean? So the Challenger is one of the only few ultra dragsters to have both traction control and ABS. But in a dry setting where brakes are not needed, it's still gonna lose to cars like the Charger 3 or even the Tamora or the BTR. So really, it's the best ultra when it comes to needing brakes. I would go 699 or 996 because the handling isn't too bad on it. I have variations of both. 996 gets, I think, 3.5, 0 to 60. 699 gets 3.6 around those ranges. It's still a very strong car, decent MRA. I guess it's actually pretty bad MRA for a Dodge. But when it comes to ultra rares, it has decent MRA. According to Top Drives Club, it's 77.48. Not last but not least, but I guess the last of the front wheel drive cars would be the Alfa Romeo Auto Delta 156. 699 and 996. 996 because it's the best front wheel drive ultra rare for the drag. It has an insane MRA of 89.57. The 0 to 60 isn't very strong, but when you look at other front wheel drive cars in the game, that's basically as best as it gets. It was paired with the MRA. High top speed as well, 175 to pair with great MRA, so that's always a good combination. But it also has medium ground clearance and 82 handling, which is why 699 is a very good option as well. So the Chevrolet Colorado Zr2 is next, and this is probably the most confusing ultra rare in the entire game. Okay, 699 or 969. This thing, I'm just gonna put a picture here, and you can pause the video and look at it. But as you can see, yeah. There's just so many different conditions, and you don't know. I honestly don't have it memorized, and can you blame me for it? I don't have it memorized where 323 is better and 233 is better, because it's just a 50-50 at this point, honestly. It's just like, okay, so 233 on the Colorado, it's better than the 323 version in the sand, in the dry sand on G-Force and slalom, and then it's better on like dirt dry on the G-Force and the slalom, and then it's better on dirt wet once again on G-Force, mountain hairpin, slalom. Yeah, you see what I mean? It's just all over the place. But 323 is better on Canyon Lookout, Canyon Tour, City Streets. It's a whole shebang. Just get one of each. Honestly, it's a pain. When it comes to running the Colorado, it's actually a pain. It's a good car, but it's a pain because you don't know what actually wins what anymore unless you want to memorize this entire list for just one car. Once again, though, shout out to Liam. He made that, and he posted it in my Discord server. You're an absolute legend, Liam. I love you. Ford RS200 is next up on the list. 699 for the dry, 969 for the wet. Basically, like what I've been talking about with all the Subarus, but you know, it's a Ford. Nissan Skyline GTR, it's the same thing. 699 for the dry, 969 for the wet. At the end of the day, it has decent handling, also a low 0 to 60. Now it did get a buff. This is an outdated picture. The original stats, or the stats now, the current stats, as of the date I posted this video, of course, is 5 seconds 0 to 60, 84 handling. and of course 4-wheel drive with 64 MRA. And if you want to know, the MRA on the Ford RS200 comes in at, where are you, Ford? 82.3, so it's actually pretty freaking good. And last but not least, it's the Lancia O37 Rally. You want to go 699 for on road, so on the dry asphalt, and 969 for off-road. Now, the Lancia O37, don't think about it as just an off-road car. It's a fantastic off-road car, but it's also the best city streets, vanilla city streets car for the dry. So medium and small, you want to go 699 on that. That thing is, you know, this thing is as useful on dry tracks and on-road tracks as it is on off-road tracks. The Lancia O37 Rally is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, duplicates before we move on to the tier list. Duplicates. So get duplicates of the Subaru Legacy. It's the best standard tire ultra in the game. Lancia O37 Rally, the Alfa Romeo Auto Delta, the Chevrolet Colorado Zr2, Ford RS200, and the Roof BTR. Now the Roof BTR, maybe a little bit of bias in this one, but I think you need 2 of these at 332 because it's the best ultra rare for the 1 mile. It's also one of the best ultra rares for the test bowl. I think only behind the Lamborghini Countach, the Thanos Countach, and the Aston Martin Bulldog, which is a prize car. That being said, you can go 233 on the BTR as well. You get 90 handling out of it, which is actually still very strong, but it's not going to win you anything. If you 233 a BTR, it's going to be a car that loses by 50 on absolutely everything, but only by 50, and this is even when it comes against like maybe lower end epics. But let's now move on to the final tier list. Alright lads, here we go, the RQ64 tier list, and once again I've added a new tier over the ones that you already know, which are priority 1 for all players, priority 2 for most players, priority 3 is for the intermediate players, priority 4 is for the advanced, and we have hot garbage. So starting us off are epic killers. I think the name kind of speaks for itself. These cars are absolutely epic killers. It's the Lancia O37 Rally, the Subaru Legacy BW, and the Chevrolet Colorado Zr2. In my opinion, these 3 cars make up some of the best ultra rares in the entire game. The only other 2 I can think of is the Evo 4 and of course the Lotus 340R. In my opinion, that's the top 5. Now moving on to priority 1, these are still very good ultra rares. It's just that the O37, the Legacy, and the Colorado operate at a different freaking level, okay? Priority 1, Roof BTR. Like I said, it's the best ultra rare for the 1 mile, one of the best for the half and the quarter mile, and one of the best for the test bowl. It's also a good car in the fast circuit if you want to go 233. Even at 332 is still a good car for the fast circuit, and even the hairpin. Moving on is the Bmw M6 Convertible. It's the best ultra rare for the standing fast circuit. Great MRI on that, and also decent handling, even though it's only at 81 now. Auto Delta. It's the best drag front wheel drive ultra rare in the game. Now, obviously, this is RQ64, so we're going to be looking at the best of the best. Also has medium ground clearance and decent handling. Aston Martin Repeat S, one of the best saloon ultra rares in the game. Amazing all-rounder, coming in with amazing MRA, or I would say decent, not amazing. Decent MRA at 76, good 0 to 60, 4.5, amazing handling at 84, and 190. In my opinion, the Aston Martin Repeat S is the ultra rare version of the Chevrolet Corvette Z06. Or even the Dodge Viper SRT10, in a sense that it's one of the best all-rounder ultra rares, and that's why it is in priority 1. And of course we have the Ford RS200, great MRA, a low 0 to 60, decent handling, and 4-wheel drive performance. Moving on to priority 2, we have the Alpine A310, the Dodge Challenger 392, the Abarth 030. Now this one might be a little bit controversial, you know, a bit low, huh? I'm putting the Abarth because it has very good handling. It has a low 0 to 60 and it's lightweight to shit. I'm gonna censor that, but it's very lightweight. I don't know why I wanted to swear, I just didn't know what else to say. But yeah, I just feel like it's a bit underperforming when it comes to, you know, it's a bit of a hybrid at the end of the day, but I don't seem to use it that much because although it's a bit of a hybrid, I tend to see it more as a twisty car because it has very good handling, but then again, it's still loose with the Exige S2 and the Lotus 340R. It's not gonna win on the drags either. It's a bit of a hybrid car, you know? It's up there with the Rapide, but I'm gonna say it. The Rapide S is a better hybrid car than the 030 because the Rapide S, you can use it in the wet and the dry. It also has the saloon tag. The 030 doesn't though. Jaguar XKR as well. It's a very good all-rounder. Second best British all-rounder ultra in my opinion. Only behind the Aston Martin Rapide S when it comes to rear-wheel drive drivetrains. Mercedes AMG S63. It's a specialist as well. You know, Ocean City Streets or, you know, Speed Bump 2K. Decent car for the drags as well. Great drag saloon. No handling on it, but it really doesn't matter. It knows what it needs to do. And the Maserati Gran Turismo. Once again, again, another great hybrid, but for the Italian category. Moving on to priority 3 now, we have the Vauxhall Maloo and the BMW 440i. Maybe a bit harsh to put the Maloo in priority 3, but it is worse than the Alpine, and the Alpine is worse than the 037 Rally, so when you think about it that way, it makes sense. The BMW 440i and the Vauxhall, both of them are very, very similar. The Vauxhall just has slightly better handling, also has a pickup niche, but they both have very similar MRA. It's 62 on the BMW and 66 on the Vauxhall Maloo. Both of the MRAs are very weak at the end of the day. Nissan Skyline, GTR R33, the GMC Terrain, the Forester, and both Subis. Once again, these are cars which are the definition of they're useful when you need them, but you don't need them very often. And then moving on to priority 4, these are cars that are, what is this? Oh, I got a perfect week for stand on my watch. That's nice. I wasn't even standing for this video. Okay. But anyway, priority 4 for the advanced players. These are cars that I never, ever use, really. But if you need to use them, they will come through. I mean, we've all seen that the XE Dynamic S has been relatively useful in British saloon events and Christmas collection. But outside of that, you never really use it because the problem with the XE Dynamic S is, you know, I think the only reason why it's RQ64 is because it has good MRA. The MRA of the Jaguar XE is 89, which is very, very strong, but the 0 to 60 is atrocious. The top speed is very low, doesn't handle, so unfortunately it's a car that I don't use that often. I actually don't know why it has such good MRA. Does that make any sense? Like, is this supposed to be a drag? I don't know. Mercedes AMG SLK Black Series as well, just a bit too close to the sun here. It's trying to be a hybrid, but their handling is just too abysmal. So unfortunately, it's not being used because look at the amount of cars that share the same RQ with the Mercedes that are better. You have the Gran Turismo, you have the XKR, you have the 030, you have the Challenger 392, the M6, the Aston Martin. So unfortunately, it's just getting pummeled. If that was RQ63 or even 62, it'd be a better car, but 64 is just kind of out of its element. Citroen Metropolis as well. I honestly don't know why this is RQ64. I guess because it has a low 0 to 60, that's about it. Four-wheel drive standard tires, yeah, that's cool, but it doesn't handle. You need the three things to work together. You need four-wheel drive, you need standard tires, and you need great handling. If you're medium, that's a bonus. This is medium, but it doesn't handle. It has a low 0 to 60, but it doesn't have a high top speed, and it doesn't have good MRA, so it's still gonna lose to the Maybach, which is like RQ57 or 56 or something like that. The Citroen Metropolis comes in with an MRA of 51, absolutely abysmal. Honestly, this thing is a pseudo 64. It should be 61, if anything. The only reason why it isn't hot garbage is because it's kind of being carried by the fact that it's four-wheel drive and has standard tires, and it's kind of like the only car in the French that has that niche. Moving on with the Infinity Fx35, it handles well, but it is the heaviest out of all the SUVs, almost weighing at 2 tons, and it's very slow with its 0 to 60. The Porsche 968 Turbo S, now this is a car that has a really good MRA. It has 88 MRA, 88.89 even. The main problem with the 968 is, although it has, you know, a dragster MRA and dragster top speed at over 170 miles per hour, it doesn't have a dragster 0 to 60. 4.8 is pretty abysmal, but it handles pretty well. So it's kind of like a 699 car, but then, you know, although it handles pretty well, it's not like it's a twisty car either, because it's going to lose to all the twisty cars, because 83, it's good, but it's not like 84, like the Rapide, or 86, like the 030, or, you know, 85 even in the Lancia O37. So 968, just, there's no place to use it, unfortunately. Priority 4. And of course, the Audi S1. The only reason why the Audi S1 is not hot garbage is because it has a really good off the line. It's kind of like an ultra version of the Subaru Mighty Boy, but I feel like that's even an insult to the Mighty Boy. But moving on, hot garbage. These are cars that I never use. Obviously, you have the rear-wheel drive standard tires. Like I said so many times, if you're rear-wheel drive and you're standard tires, you need to be a specialist in something, and both of these cars aren't really a specialist in anything. They don't have very low 0 to 60s, like low enough for it to be considered drag spec. They don't have MRAs considered to be drag cars, and they don't have handling considered to be, you know, twisty cars. So unfortunately, I would use the Mazda Cosmo or the Infinity G37 over the M45 and the 330D Touring any day. So honestly, I think that the Mazda Cosmo should be RQ64, and these two should be 63 or even 62. And of course, the Audi S6. I don't know, man. 79 handling for performance tires at RQ64, that's sacrilegious at that point. I mean, I get that the XE Dynamic S also has 79, but at least the XE Dynamic S has 89 MRA. The Audi S6 only has an MRA of a mere 78, which is not bad, but it's not going to be anything in its category, and unfortunately it's going to be hot garbage. I'm sorry, Enku, it's just that the Audi Ultra Rares in the game, they're trash. That's just a fact. But anyway guys, that's going to be it! It is the end of a series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you find this episode helpful. Once again, I really hope that this series will be useful for a very long time, and you know, you could be watching this, I don't know, a year from now. Imagine, if you're watching right now, in a year's time, please comment down below, you legend. I hope that this information is still useful, because I think from a year, from where I'm sitting right now and recording this video, Top Drives would have had a grand total of probably 2 car updates, so maybe some meta would change. But yeah, for the most part, I think that, you know, most of the information from the series would stay the same. But anyway, I hope you guys had a great day. Thank you for supporting the series. I think my biggest supporter of this series is indeed Birdie. So I want to give a shout out to Birdie. Birdie, if you're watching, high five, brother. Okay, high five the screen. I love you, man. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up girls everywhere with the drop dead look. Swing it side to side as we slow dance to the night, when I'll hold your perfect